how is disease used against the black race?
Sure. So for many years, this is not new, but Europeans have used disease as a weapon of warfare. So most people don't know the birth of America was birthed through the extermination of the North American Native Americans through biowarfare when they had lost the physical war. That's the important part to remember. The Native Americans under Pontiac and his alliance had won the war and were about to expel Europeans before the birth of America from the entire continent, North America. And Jeffrey Amherst, that was in the English army, well, they were Englishmen, but they were settling there. He said, we can't defeat them militarily, but perhaps we can defeat them if we give them a gift of blankets. It was a cold winter. And if we put smallpox in those blankets, they have no immunity, we can kill them. And they did it. The Native Americans could not perceive that you could put death in a blanket, and they exterminated them. And now, 10 years later, that was 1766. 10 years later, 1776, American Revolution happens and America's born. When most people outside of the West think of America, you think of a white man, John F. Kennedy, Donald Trump, whoever. There was a time when if you knew what North America was, it would have just been red people. Most people outside of America, even in America, have never seen a full-blooded Native American because they've been largely exterminated. How was it done? Through disease. What we now, it's a disease when it comes out as something natural. When it's used as a weapon of warfare, we call it a bioweapon because it's a biological weapon, meaning they take it, contain it, and now they can use the disease. Unlike what a natural disease does, the disease just spreads and you have to build your immunity to escape it. It doesn't specifically target people, it's just out here. This is different. A bioweapon is when they take a disease and they, through science, control it, and now can give it to you when they want you to have it. And then they can then come to you, which is happening now. They can give you the disease and get you sick. So whatever you were doing, you have to stop for a moment because you're sick and people are getting sick and you don't know what to do. So whatever you were doing in terms of developing your society, the directional compass, politically, whatever you were doing, you have to stop because now people are getting sick and doing harm. And now they can present themselves to you because, of course, if they create a disease, they may have created a way to treat it. So now they can come and say, hey, we can help you. The thing that they're doing with disease now that makes it very complex, they'll create a disease, or a disease can be natural. But instead of an actual means by which to deal with the disease, they will come to you with something more dangerous than the disease as a cure. So now you have something that if you just stayed by yourself, you would get over this thing. But they can tell people, hey, that thing you have is totally dangerous. And even though you're still alive and you feel sick, they tell you, if you don't come to me, then this horrible thing is going to happen. If you believe them, then they can come and give you something that instead of doing personal harm to you for a moment, and either you make it through or you don't, they have something more dangerous. Now they can say, now I'm going to give you something that's going to stop you from being able to have children. I'm going to give you something that once you get it and get around other people, you can make them sick and stop being able to have children. I can give you something. They now, disease now is broader than the way we think of it, something that's airborne. Disease can literally be something that they put in something that they call food. And you think that you're eating food, but you're eating a poison designed to stop you from being able to have children. In other words, what we have typically strategically, the natural understanding of disease, which has been around forever, which is why God made the immune system. Once we get exposed to it, our immune system builds itself up. And then the next time it comes around, if we make it through the first time, we're good. And then that becomes the basis of even when we have children and future generations, that they might have some sense of immunity because this body and that which comes out of this body has had some exposure to it. It's different now.
Now, some people are going to say that you haven't given any examples. You have made sweeping statements.
Yes.
So do we have examples of diseases that you believe are man-made? Maybe you could...
Sure.
Yeah.
I would just go right to the heart of it. Make it simple. I hope you can even put this online.
Go ahead.
But the best example is the one all of us were faced with, so no one can escape this one. So I want people to understand what we're talking about. It's called spike protein. It was created in a lab. It was created with HIV. And a whole formula that created this thing called spike protein, we would know it as COVID-19. It's not a COVID-19, it's spike protein, which is a bioweapon that was created in a lab and released in or about August 2019. How do I know? I live in Maryland. Now talking to people who were around at that time. You can look this up. It's hard to find the articles, but you can look it up right now for yourself. The #1 bioweapons lab in America is in Fort Detrick. Put in Fort Detrick, Maryland bioweapons lab, biolab. That's where the centerpiece of creating bioweapons is, in Maryland. There was a leak and they shut down Fort Detrick for a couple of weeks. Go look it up online in 2019. What happened then, we suspect, because a lot of people I know in Maryland got sick. Everything that we know is COVID-19. They couldn't breathe, it was flu, they thought they were going to die. All of that is what happened to these people. So that got out. We don't know if it was released on purpose or by, we don't know. We just know it got out. By October 2019, this bioweapon called spike protein that got out, they did something called, you can go on YouTube right now and watch it. It's called Event 201. I want everybody to hear what I'm saying. This is 2019. This is before COVID. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the WEF, World Economic Forum, and Johns Hopkins University had what they call Event 201, where they went through, it's online now, and discussed how do we deal with a major pandemic pathogen that comes in and spreads around the entire world and is airborne. What are we going to do? How are we going to quarantine people? How are we going to get people who are involved in entertainment and are very popular to promote how we say it should be dealt with? What will be the medical protocol? Like everything that 3 months later was implemented that we call COVID-19 occurred. So let me run people through this bioweapon to understand exactly. Once you understand this formula, you now have the formula of genocide and mass extermination through bioweapon warfare on the planet. You have the basic protocol. The spike protein got out. Here's the thing about that bioweapon. If that's all that's out there, ivermectin knocks it right out. Hydroxychloroquine knocks it right out. Intravenous vitamin C knocks it right out. Nicotine, I'm not telling you to smoke. Cigarettes give you cancer, not smoking. But nicotine, which you can get in tobacco. Tomatoes have the highest concentration of any, green tomatoes in particular, of any natural food. So nicotine is a positive substance in its natural state. So there were any number of quercetin, there were any number of ways to beat spike protein. It's not that dangerous if you know what to do.
So what is a spike protein?
Spike protein is actually, we call it COVID-19. When people got sick, that's what you got. It's a spike protein. It's a bioweapon that they created in a lab that's laced with HIV in it. It was created with it. It's like, if you can imagine taking, when you put Legos, you know how you take Legos and put them together? To create weapons now, they'll take a disease in a lab and like Legos, put it together.
The so-called gain of function?
Gain of function is when you take a pathogen that wouldn't otherwise be dangerous for people. And then you heighten it so that people can get infected with it and it can do harm. Yes, so that's gain of function, yes. So that's one thing that gain of function does. With the spike protein, there was probably gain of function done with that to take something that, but in this case, I would say just look at Legos. When you put Legos together, you can build a house, but then they can all break apart. But you take the different pieces, put them together. In laboratories now, they take diseases and things to wrap and hold diseases and ways that they can travel. They put them together like a Lego and then release them in the world, and they've already tested it so they know what they can do. So the spike protein is that gain of function created pathogen that goes out. But again, you can knock it right out with so many different things. If you take some gum that has nicotine in it and chew the nicotine gum, in a day or two, it'll be totally gone. So this ivermectin knocks it out. Like I said, hydroxychloroquine. But the way that it is done is, once they release it, because you have a hard time breathing, anybody who can't breathe is going to be scared. They lie to you and tell you, we don't know what can fix this because we don't know what's happening. They knew exactly what was happening. But they want you to take what they have that they call vaccines, which are not vaccines. That's the whole goal. We want to inject you with technology. That's the goal. How are we going to get you to agree to that? We release something that makes it hard for you to breathe. We won't allow you to get to the things that actually can heal you. So now you can't breathe or you're having difficulty. Everybody's scared out of their mind. So then we have to have enough people die that everybody is scared enough that they'll say, I'll go take this injection. Because everybody didn't get sick with the spike protein, or some people did and got over it. No, I need to scare them to think, if you don't get this, the world is over. So when they put people into hospitals, there was a protocol to exterminate people in the hospital. If you come in the hospital, you're going to die. How did it work? Very simply. In 2019, in Africa, they had Ebola, and they were testing different things on Ebola. They tested something called remdesivir. Remdesivir killed over 50% of the people. These are facts. There's a lot of different doctors out there that are quoting these in these studies. This is just history. You can look this up. So they pulled it because they said this thing is too dangerous. It's killing everybody. That same drug, remdesivir, is the drug that Anthony Fauci, and you can get this in the real Anthony Fauci book by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's the head of HHS, Health and Human Services in the United States of America. He's the nephew of John F. Kennedy. They'll give you remdesivir, the same drug that just the year before in 2019 killed everybody. So you go to the hospital, they get paid. They get paid to give you a test, even if you're not sick. If the test comes back and says, oh, you're positive, they get paid again. So the hospital is getting paid to say that you're positive. Then, if you say you're positive and they admit you to the hospital, they get paid a third time. Then,
the so-called confirmation tests.
The confirmation test, yes. Oh, the test came back positive, they get paid. Only if it comes back negative, they don't get paid. But if it comes back positive, they get paid. If you admit the person to the hospital, they get paid again. Even if you're not sick, but you admitted them under COVID-19. Now here comes the big one. If they agree to take remdesivir, they're probably going to die. Because now since you're positive, we're going to put you on remdesivir. We already know. The doctors don't necessarily know and the nurses don't know. They don't look and see what this was used in Ebola trials in Africa. But the people like Fauci who are mandating it and the folks that run the system, they know because the objective is to kill people. They put you on remdesivir and it does what? It kills your organs. So it kills your kidneys. Then you can't pass liquid out. So the liquid starts backing up into your lungs. You have a hard time breathing. They get paid. They don't just get paid if they give you remdesivir. If they have you on it for 3 days, now they get paid your whole hospital visit. They get 25% on top. So if they were going to get paid $100,000, now they get $125,000 for your whole hospital stay. So they want you on a remdesivir because that's the big bomb, the first big bomb. Once you can't breathe because the liquid has come back into your lungs, they lay you down, put a ventilator on you, and drown you to death. That's the big payment. It's like $40,000. Well, different states in America had different amounts, but that was a big hit. once we got them on the ventilator, because now they out of here. You get on the ventilator, you die, then they get another payment for putting COVID-19 on your death certificate. Because what? Now they can say, all of these people are dying from COVID-19. It's so dangerous. You have to have a vaccine. Now, in all the years of vaccines, there's never been one that came out a year after an illness came out. But in this case, there was not one vaccine. All of these companies, all of a sudden, magically, in 1 year, right after COVID-19, spike protein, all of a sudden have something that now they completely acknowledge doesn't help, does not stop. It has nothing to do. What they're injecting people with that they're called vaccines has nothing to do with vaccination, has nothing to do with health whatsoever, has nothing to do with helping fight a spike protein or a COVID-19. They are injecting technology. For the person that questions, is that true? How do you know? I'm going to take your mind back and you'll remember you never got an answer for this. Do you remember what they did to test people when it first came out? When the spike protein first broke out, do you remember how they tested people?
Not quite.
They took this huge stick and stuck it all the way in the back of your nose, all the way to the back. And everybody was like, what are they doing? There's a gland right by your brain that protects your brain from things getting into it. They were popping that gland. Why were they popping that gland? Because they knew that when they later would come and give you these injections that have technology in them, that have different elements. I mean, this is some real deep science once you learn the science. That they now can put something in your body that can now penetrate directly to your brain. So if they pop that gland, they can now get direct access. So in preparation of doing it, that's why they did that. That's why, if you notice, nobody ever talks about that anymore. No explanation was ever given. Well, you did that in the beginning, but you don't do that anymore. So why did you do that back then? Because they wanted to open up that gland for as many people around the world as they could for the technology that they were implanting in the world population. This technology can affect your birth rate. It can affect your heart rate. It can affect your breathing. It can affect almost anything that they program it to, because if you look at Tal Zaks, he's an Israeli, Tal Zaks. He was the head of Moderna's division on technology. I forget his exact positioning, but you can walk right in and put in Talzaks. He describes what mRNA technology is. He tells you this is gene editing technology. What they are giving people that they are calling mRNA or vaccinations has nothing to do with health. It's not vaccination. It is installing technology into people so that they can then use their new technology to communicate within our bodies and start a different type of slavery. They're going on some real high-tech kind of slavery, wanting to be able to control what's inside of people. But to do that, they had to get us to open up our arms to allow them to do it, because they have no other simple way of gaining access to us. So, in short, after that year, now they come to everybody and say, see, they release something that makes you sick, but then they lie to you about how dangerous it is. To now come and give you something that's 1,000 times more dangerous. It's not even comparable. You can't compare the spike protein of COVID-19 to these injections that they call vaccinations. And then the deep lie about it. And I blame this one, I'm going to hold accountable. Many of the doctors didn't know what was happening. But one thing they do know by this time, they know that these injections that are given to people are not vaccines. Anybody in the medical field now knows that. To me, every single one of them is criminal for using that word. Because you know that when you say to a black person, or almost anyone, but particularly a black person, this is a vaccine. We think vaccine, protection from disease. But you know that you're lying. It's not like an accident. At this point, you know, no, it is not a vaccine. These are technology that is being installed in people. We know what gain of function is. We know what mRNA technology is. Not mRNA medicine, it's mRNA technology. And this is for the Africans.
So this
They're lying.
mRNA
Yes.
is actually programmable.
Programmable you know the best example? In Tal's Acts. That's why I told people, put in Tal's Acts and go look. It's a short interview. He said, we have hacked the software of life. He said, it's like computer programming. We take and we can put a new program and system in you with this technology. We can tell your body to do anything. Just like in a computer program, whatever you program it to do, you take the software and put it in with the hardware. We are the hardware. The body is the hardware already exists. Our heart, our liver, we have the hardware. The software is the mRNA technology that they insert into people to now be able to, and in those injections.
And this technology, this software can be upgraded.
It can be upgraded, it can be reprogrammed, and they have, this is all, you can put in these words, it'll all come up. They had one guy, I forget his name at the moment, he was an Israeli. He was talking about how he helped create, the way he described it was, there are 1,000 billion nanobots in this injection I have right here. What is a nanobot? It's a microscopic robot. So they have what they call self-assembling nanobot technology. In other words, it looks just like a regular shot. You're getting a shot, and they're telling you it's a vaccine. They've unloaded 1 trillion robots into your body that can assemble themselves upon certain frequencies that are given. Well, you see all these 5G towers, these towers that popped up in 2020 out of nowhere. Nobody knows where they came from, but they just all of a sudden popped up while everybody was down, staying out of the street because we didn't want to get COVID. All of a sudden, these 5G towers pop up. This is all around the world. I was on Kenyatta University, and I'm standing there as we listening to the Kikuyu, and I'm looking over, I'm like, here are these towers. So through those towers, they can send signals to the technology that we allowed them to install in our bodies. And if that technology is still there, then they can tell it what to do. So it's like creating another infrastructure inside the body, and then they can tell your heart how to race. They can program it, just like you just said. This is real. Here's the thing about this. Sometimes people do what they call conspiracy theories. People are guessing. I'm not involved in the medical field, never have been. The way I learned all of this is when it occurred, I was trying to save black people's lives. I had no idea what was happening. All of this, I had to research the things that I'm telling you and study and find out. So this is not anything that anybody out there that goes and looks won't find. All of this is reality.
Amazing.
Stop taking these injections coming from the West. I just heard a leader, a minister in Burkina Faso, he was doing a discussion and he said, we got to be cautious. We don't know what's being brought here. We don't know what they're putting in it. And we also don't know if it will affect our birth rates and our ability to have children. We have to look well to where we're going. And I'm glad to hear that's coming from the AES, but all African nations need to say, wait a minute, as it relates to medicine, let us look at medicine from our own perspective and do what's best for our people and not just follow the ways of the West.
You're talking about stopping people from having children.
Yes.
So why is that a big deal?
Because
the Malthusian theory, population, blah, 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 and people are supposed to be, population is supposed to be at a certain level so that people can be able to enjoy life and afford the things that they're supposed to afford. So what's the big deal about not having children?
The entire discussion about the black population rate is one thing. It's a mass extermination campaign. The whole idea of depopulation is to condition us to be so stupid that we think the world is better without us. No, I'm an African. The world is better with more of us. That's why I had children. And we should have as many children as we can. And if the whole world is black, we should be happy because we're black. The whole objective is to kill black people. So everything that we've been talking about, from self-hatred to spiritual indoctrination to genocide and poison presented to us as medicine, if we look at where all of these things go, if you add them up, black men being told you shouldn't be with a black woman, black women being told that she shouldn't be with a black man, if you add all of these things up, poverty, which is not anything that has an origin in Africa. Like the idea of poverty, we have the food we need, we have the resources we need, we have the history and the culture we need. Pretty much we developed civilization. This is not poverty. Poverty is a political tool created by enemies of African people to come in, take over our trade and our capacity for production, and to now make us dependent on them so that they can extract the wealth of what we have. It isn't a foreign creation. When you have food, you don't have poverty. You can eat. You're going to be fine. When you have water, you're going to be fine. We have the Nile. You don't have the Nile on your continent, and there's no poverty when you have the Nile. We have everything. We have gold. We're the ones that created gold and made gold and taught how to smelt gold. That's African. We don't have poverty that is self-created initially. What we have is warfare. When you add poverty up with disease, with self-hatred, with spiritual indoctrination, with military war, with black on black self-hatred and violence, you add all of these things up, what we end up is us being exterminated. So that's the real war that we're fighting. And so what we do is we turn it all around and say, we're not going to hate ourselves. We don't worship a God that don't look like us. And our God, because we're African, here's the difference between our God and everybody else's God. As a black man, we know that we're the most powerful thing the world has ever created, but our ego stops at one point. For us, if we have been blessed by the Creator to have the most beautiful, marvelous creation that can be imagined right next to us called the black woman, for us, if we can have a wife and enjoy her, ain't no God of ours that wouldn't have a wife of his own too. If we can enjoy it, so where there's a God for the African, there's a goddess. And when we bring that principle back, we don't care what anybody thinks. They're not Africans. That's how our ancestors set it forth. That's who we are. That's why we love our mothers so much. Who loves them? That's why when you see African art, you got two things.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that God is not an old man with beard, residing somewhere in heaven?
If he is, he's a black man in heaven, and right next to him is a black woman with locks, and he's smiling in the family. Because let me tell you, if you look at, see, this is so beautiful. Culture tells the story. Even with all of the self-hatred and all of what we're talking poverty, one thing they haven't stolen from us is who we are. How do we know? Because when all of that is gone and the black man is just sitting there in the woods, he starts carving. And somehow, many of them haven't even been taught how to do it. It's just in their blood. He somehow carves a man, not with a dog, not with a tree, but he carves that thing, and that man is tied with the woman. And you don't know where the man starts and the woman stops. It's just one. It's a oneness. When that man carves, he carves this woman, and she's sitting there, and on her lap is a child lactating at her breast. He just can't stop. Why? Because we're the men on the planet, historically, in our core, who love the feminine process. Why? Because we're the most masculine men on the planet. We're not threatened by it. What is there a threat? There's nothing that threatens the black man except not having that partner. So we are a balanced race. There's no race like this. When we get back to that and we understand that and put it together, everything else will come.
Mañana del barrio veo que anda con el ñaño.